what I find most interesting is the period immediately before Dark Side of the Moon, because you can begin to see the band is going to be able to do something very special. And so when you hear Metal, for example, or Obscured by Clouds, what are the memories that come back for you?
Well, I think, talking about the earlier albums, what's interesting is that I think in some cases, some of the albums mark a progression. You know, I'd sort of see Piper, which was the first album, as the start, obviously. And certainly Saucerful of Secrets, the second album, as containing elements that were taken from the first and go on through our sort of history. But then I think after Piper, after Saucer, there were a couple of albums that were sort of cul-de-sacs, really. And something like Atom Heart Mother, I think, is an interesting album, but it's not really part of a progression. You know, I think the distraction of the orchestra really was fun to do, but it was not something that's particularly relevant to our onward progress.
Did you feel that you were on an island by yourself?
Yes, I think we did a little bit. I think we, but your strengths are your weaknesses. I mean, yes, it gave us a sort of special place. We found our own niche, but in some ways we didn't quite fit all the shape that perhaps we originally wanted to be. I think when we kicked off, we had no idea of where we were really going to end up. And we probably modelled ourselves on every other band that was around at the time, be it Cream or Jimi Hendrix, you know, just sort of R&B based band.
So now it's 1973, you're in the studio, and Dark Side is starting to come together. Was there a sense among the band members that you had done something special here?
I think we had a sense we'd done something special, and we probably knew that we'd done our best work so far, but we absolutely did not understand how successful the record would be, and nor should we have. I mean, I don't think anyone has I'd say almost the right. You'd be foolish to think that just because you've done an album that you think is great, that it will necessarily be taken up by the public at large. There are plenty of brilliant albums that have been lost without trace.
The drummer's seat is the most interesting position, because you know you're behind the group. Yeah. In the studio, you tend to be isolated, surrounded by...
Yeah, I tend to sort of see it as like being the ship's cook. You can watch the captains on the bridge arguing, but you're always there all the way through the journey.
Right. Do you permit yourself to have a favorite Pink Floyd album?
Not really. I mean, it's a little bit like asking about favourite children. Each one marks so many things, and you tend not to evaluate the music so much as that period of your life. And they mark such very different periods, because the sort of early days are about being new young kids on the block, meeting the Beatles, the whole thing about being in Abbey Road and thinking, God, this is amazing. And then the later albums are about being far more confident in the studio, and also about the touring that quite often goes with the records and those sort of periods of your life and what you were doing.